All right, and we're live. So, second session moderating for me in a row. Good to see you guys again. If you guys tuned into the activities chairperson debate just now, thank you. And if you're tuning in now, thank you again. So, right now we'll be having the editors session. So, we'll be having 4 candidates. So, we'll be having a lot of screens on because we'll be having previous office bearers as well. So, apologies if it's a little bit clustered. And just another side note, some candidates can't turn on their camera right now. We're having some technical issues there. So apologies in advance for all of that. Without further ado, I'll just bring us through the schedule today. So as usual, 2 minutes intro, which is what I'm doing now. And we'll be moving into an opening statement from all the candidates. Following that, we'll be having a Q&A session from the office bearers. And lastly, we'll be getting Q&As from the students. So you guys in the comments in the YouTube stream, feel free to drop your interesting questions for the candidates. And finally, we'll be moving into the closing statement. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce the editor candidates for this year. We've got Christy, Shannon, Angeline, and Jared.
Good afternoon to the returning officers, office bearers, and the audience. I'm Christy.
I'm Shannon.
I'm Jared.
Incorporating elements of quote-unquote BuzzFeed in the Monash community, we will be running as the candidates for the editor's position in MUSA from the party at Circumensum the Roundtable. So why choose us as the editors? I'm actually in the manga subcommittee as a writer, which allows me to gain a small glimpse into how manga functions. I have a passion in using words to deliver stories and generating new ideas and creating content to be produced. I believe in meaning in what I say and do when it comes to writing and producing, as this creates a warm environment between content creators and the audience.
As for myself, although I haven't been part of the manga, I'm personally passionate in different creative forms of expression, such as photography, audio editing, designing, and I've also done media internships, which I believe have allowed me to acquire sufficient knowledge in terms of managing social media, and therefore I want to and believe that I can contribute and utilize what I have to manga of my team.
Angeline, your mic is not on.
Right. Okay, so experience-wise, I have worked on creating yearbooks for several times, some with an organized team led by myself, and the last one on my own. I have also worked on commercial branding works and school club content while also managing the social media and the editorial team. So these experiences of graphic designing and teamwork management, I believe, are fundamental to working with manga.
As for me, I joined the manga sub-community in 2020 mainly as a photographer. I developed a huge interest in photography and wanted to showcase my creativity through manga. I have experience shooting and dealing with people with knowledge on equipment management and software usage. In 2021, I wish to take up the position of an editor and turn my passion for photography into content that is the driving force of manga. Okay, so before moving on to our manifesto, we would like to acknowledge the achievements of the current team of editors, Ivan, Weishang, Jiaying, and Kiran. Seeing the remarkable job they've done this year, even facing unprecedented hardships, we strive to improve. Okay, so the first thing is that we will focus on the revival of campus life post-pandemic and deliver campus life sentiment for all the students who haven't been on campus due to the pandemic. Okay, so because due to the pandemic, in-campus activities have actually been cancelled and school activities were happening online. So this actually resulted in the lack of physical activities to produce content. So we aim to create a back-to-campus theme content such as campus tour videos, back-to-school starter packs, and etc. We also aim to do short interview videos such as asking continuing students on their favorite Monash events and new students to describe their first day in university using one word. And one part, we will also keep the idea of clubs and society related story highlights, as we feel club and societies plays a huge part in campus life here in Monash, and it's essential to retain it as it promotes more insight into the different clubs and societies here in Monash. So all these initiatives are to ensure outside of the different themes of content that we aim to actually create, content related to campus itself will be a big part of the project scope of Manga 2021. I will pass it down to Angeline right now.
All right, so secondly, Let's divide students into two aspects before proceeding into the second vision. First, as audience of Monga, and second, as Monga subcommittee. As a creative outlet, we firmly believe that Monga should continue to strive to become a platform where students can continue to channel their talents and passion, making Monga their safe haven. Continuing the thematic month to carry on exploring students' creative potentials is something that we plan to do following the previous premise. Another example would be collaborating with clubs and societies. For instance, we can have a manga playlist out of the music club's covers. Next, I will focus more on the interpersonal and technical ways to improve manga and its relationships with students. We are willing to accept people who are passionate, hardworking, and competent, while also still maintaining quality and productivity through schedule management, supervision, and peer feedback and learning. Cultivating a cooperative environment is important to build respect among each other, while also ensuring that we can smoothly create a manga end product, as both creativity and cooperation between members are crucial in order to achieve our collective visions and manifestos. So for the next one, I will leave it to Shannon.
Okay, so for third, we want to ensure our content to be entertaining without sacrificing creativity, ensuring active engagement and interactivity. So how do we do this is one major initiative is to create more gaming and esports related content because although gaming is popular among our student body, we found that this has not been previously touched on a lot by manga. So one example can be gameplay videos like Vice President Play Fall Guys. In our opinion, this would be entertaining and catering to students' hobbies because a lot of the gamers can relate to it. So on the basis of manga, having audience-based interest in photography, journalism, etc., this would target those who haven't been well engaged with us and would expand our potential audience base. And next is by keeping up with the latest trends, so we hope to continue TikTok and story challenges, and also to create more content in forms of videos, as we found that they tend to get a lot of views. And this is of course on the basis of maintaining the balance of other forms of content too. So specifically, we want to do a revamped version of Munch, and this, for example, a BuzzFeed-inspired series, which we put it under the scale of Monash. So for example, we go to Monash Family Mart and compare product differences. So not only people is familiarized with how our content is functioning, it is regarding the topic of their surroundings and their daily campus life. And third, the videos we create will focus on students' opinions regarding different topics to enhance engagement and stir discussions among them, such as do all Monashans think the same? And lastly, all these initiatives I have mentioned will enhance interactivity as because we will constantly ask for students' suggestions and topics they are interested in. And for videos about opinions and experiences, we will make sure to enhance inclusivity to get a diversity of voice, which I will end my part now, and this will be for the elaborate from Team Christy.
Thank you. We also strive to produce content with an unbiased voice and enhance inclusivity in the Monash community. By that, we hope to continue diving into controversial topics or topics that are still considered a taboo, such as mental illness, intimacy, xenophobia, and many more issues. We understand that we should normalize things so that we can reduce the stigma and assumptions when it comes to the issues above. How we can do this is that we can open up weekly topics to cover, such as collecting stories and responses anonymously via forms or through Instagram or any articles, photos, or artwork relating to the topic. Not only will we do casting calls to find students to be involved in our projects, we can collaborate with other departments and divisions such as MUIS and women's officers. For example, international students may have a section speaking on cultural differences when they first came to Malaysia. Through these initiatives, we want to do our best to include as many kinds of content that we can and make sure people who want their experiences to be heard are heard. With that said, for all the content that requires student participants, we will ensure the diversity of students so people from different backgrounds will be represented. And with that, I will now open the floor to the office bearers and audience for Q&A.
All right. So on that note, we'll just be moving into the Q&A from the office bearers. Thank you guys for your opening statements. So which office bearer would like to step in?
I'll start.
Whenever you guys are ready.
So, the majority of our projects are centered around on-campus initiatives. Do you have any alternative plans should these campus restrictions that are implemented in 2020 run until 2021?
So previous thing mentioned in the speech, a lot of them are actually very doable because it's all on social media, such as video content related to the Omniscience Think the Same, and then gaming, collaboration with clubs and societies, for example, the music color playlists. And as long as there is no big gathering, getting participants is still doable for creating videos, and we can post it on social media. And also for the Welcome to Monash Again series, we can change the back to school checklist and switch it to back to Zoom. And also for our manga, we can just settle down with the e-manga. And also we plan to do, instead of normal PDF, we can do maybe interactive magazines, experiment with the magazine a little bit, or maybe do an interactive web documentary using websites. This is just our initial ideas.
By e-manga, do you mean that you will stick with producing digital copies of manga instead of physical copies? Or will you be doing both?
Right. I think it has to be clarified that we will still try our best to make physical copies of manga. Well, I believe that if the situation doesn't allow us to continue to do so, we think that creating an e-manga will be a better alternative, since we think that it is also a way to actually make it digital, like different from usual, because we want to make it animated and interactive, something that is probably new touch that manga has not ever done yet. So we'll try to challenge ourselves to do that.
Okay, but do you think that the outreach of e-manga will be as good as physical copies?
To be honest, because it's in PDF, right? People actually find it a little bit much of a hassle to download the copy. So we thought to make it into an interactive website if possible. So the outreach part will be hopefully will be easier because people like it simple. So with one click, if the magazine pops up, they prefer it that way. So with the outreach, we will try to market it way more on our story, and we will tell our friends to market it as well.
Okay. Ivan?
All right, for my next question, right? Hang on here. Okay, so how will you ensure that the work produced by yourself and your subcommittees will be timely and consistent without sacrificing quantity and quality?
Can I answer for that one?
Yeah.
All right. So as mentioned in the manifesto that I explained earlier, I will ensure that we will try to we'll have subcommittees, right? So we'll do portfolio checks and interviews, as well as we are going to do supervision. As for big projects, we are going to check every step, such as like the proofreading of the content, the progress, and for small projects, we'll try our best to be more collaborative with them and check every stages if possible. And we will also provide reminders if needed when things are left undone or not submitted. We also believe that leniency is not acceptable when they have gone over beyond the productivity level that we should maintain. So we'll be also strict with them. Well, we believe that maintaining a friendly environment is also still important. We think that peer feedbacks among subcommittees and also learning among each other to share tips and the kind would be really helpful to make sure that the quality is still there. And for the quantity, we'll also maintain a non-hierarchical communication in order to make sure that we are all receiving the information as it is supposed to be. Therefore, we can continue working.
All right, my follow-up to that would be that let's say the situation doesn't get any better and you will still be doing it online. How do you ensure that you can make sure your subcoms do the work? Because, like, for example, if let's say they just ghost you, they won't reply to you, what will you do? What will be your next step?
All right,
Okay,
there's
I can.
Jared, you can do this.
Angeline, you wanna? Okay. So for this part, like if really like one of the worst things that can happen is actually ghosting, like is they literally disappear. Okay, so like the main focus, like if they start to ghost, the main focus is actually to push out the content. So rather than trying to reach out to the person, we will turn to other subcoms or maybe even ourselves to manage the situation first, and then we will and then like once we get the thing done, then only will we deal with that specific person.
I would like to follow up on that. So
Yeah, go ahead.
as mentioned earlier, I did mention something about schedule management. So we're going to hold meeting in the first place to like make sure the schedule of each small goals that we can attain in order to make sure that the project is being run efficiently. Even though we understand that we are students, right? We are also busy in our daily life and also our student life. Well, we think that by making this kind of goals that is to be achieved by our members, we think that it is most likely those kind of situations can be avoided. And even if, let's say, they cannot do this goal suddenly, we think that we should do the solution that Jared mentioned earlier.
Right, that's it from me. All right, I'll pass it on to Wei Shang.
Oh, sorry. Um, so, what are your thoughts about Manga 2020 in terms of content, communication, and management? How would you seek to improve on our work?
To be honest, because as a subcommittee, I understand why it's been quite quiet, but let me speak on like a general student's perspective, someone who's not in manga. To be honest, I think it would seem on the outside that it's more slow right now. That most of the content is more on articles, and that we have to click on the bio, we have to click on Linktree, and then have to click on WordPress. So it's quite a long, lengthy process for a student who just wants to be like, okay, click, I want to see that. So I think the improvements that we can make is to simplify that process to make it more accessible for students.
Can you elaborate on how you plan to do that to make it more
I
accessible?
can
Right.
follow up.
Okay, Shannon.
Okay, so with the minimizing the process, so we plan to minimize the effort in terms of like, for example, artworks of thematic months. We can maybe make the submission and we can allow Instagram DM, and also maybe even submit to friends or subcoms, so they don't really have to go through the process of filling in forms or like going to the bio link. And we think that with this, if next year we have this online case, we can maybe ensure that and encourage submission, so we don't really just have a huge chunk of articles, and we can ensure that there are a lot of different forms of content too.
You mentioned submitting through friends or subcoms as well as Instagram DMs, but you do realize that a lot of those procedures can lead to losing those submissions, or your friends not submitting in time, or double submitting in someone else's identity. You do know that that's a problem, right, with this kind of submission? Whereas with Google Forms, you can ensure that whoever is submitting is a Monash student.
Okay, we admit that effectivity is very important, and especially in managing data. But we believe that we also need them to be comfortable in submitting, because if they think that a form is a hassle, that means that we have to change our ways, even if it means that we have to sacrifice more of our time. We think that by them just rather only having to like submit their submission through Google Drive and then share the link to us via DM would be a little bit more easier for them, and we ensure that we collect their data immediately and also their creations to get things done efficiently. So instead of like Google letting the whole spreadsheet job for us, we're going to do it on our own, and we'll make sure to like separate our workload and then like tell the subcommittees who are handling the social media to actually help us to like gather the data immediately.
I'm not sure if you're aware, but we do encourage submissions of all kinds. And we also allow submissions via email, which is way more direct than Instagram DMs. And Google Forms is just something new that we've implemented alongside email submissions this semester.
Oh yeah, like we are aware of it, and we're just thinking some other alternatives. But as our teammates have said, this is some ways to minimize the effort, and of course we'll also ensure that like the personal data is being collected, and we'll ensure that there are Monash students, and so we also have spreadsheets among that. So maybe if this name is being submitted with this work, and we'll ensure that there are no double submission with among the subcoms or Instagram DMs.
Asking on behalf of Kieran, what would happen if your department faced a significant budget cut that hinders the production of your initiatives and even the physical magazine?
Okay, so first of all, we don't know much about this, but like, not the budget allocation, but like we don't know much about the specific equipments that will be passed on to us after we get elected. But we heard from the current officers, which you guys, that because of the pandemic, some equipment will be passed down to us. So I'm not sure if that's the case, but if this is the case, this will in a way to reduce and redirect our focus on other necessary objects. And also, as we said, the e-manga. So for the interactive features, it could be animated using InDesign. So the other things would be mainly needs to be paid would be the website fees if we're doing interactive website.
Okay, some context. Manga has been producing physical copies since 2004. So would you just take away our tradition of producing physical copies? And if you do, why?
To be honest, this is the e-manga is only an alternative if we really cannot do a physical copy, because my team and I believe that a physical copy will always be irreplaceable. Holding a book of memories is way different from just seeing it through your phone. So we will really try to fight for it until we really cannot do it. Then if it's the last resort, then only it's on e-manga, because we do believe that the physical copy will hold a lot more sentiment than actually just clicking a link.
All right. How would you fight for it? Would you fight for it, or would you just look for outside help or whatever? There's a few ways to do the magazine, but I'm interested in what your thought process would be.
My first thing to do would be to look at the budget allocation. Obviously, the biggest issue here is budget. So we'll see how it goes, the budget. The second one is that if we may have to downgrade the quality of the paper. That is one option that we have discussed, to downgrade a little bit of the quality so that we can still have the physical copies. And if that's not doable, the outside option is actually a new option to us. We have talked about maybe some sponsorships. We're not too sure on that yet, because we're still hoping on leaning on the budget allocation side. Yeah.
All right, Celine, can ask your questions now.
Celine, you're still muted. Sorry to cut in, but you're still muted, Celine.
Jesus. Hello?
Hi. Yep. You're a little bit soft. Do you mind speaking up? Sorry, or like moving the mic closer to your mouth?
Okay. You know what? Let me just switch to my laptop. Give me a while. I think I'm.
All right, then I'll go for
Hello?
one question
Yeah.
first.
All right.
This is more towards the media
Hello?
department. As okay, all right. For the media department, right? Because like you do know that we have quite a lot of equipment in the office, right? So regarding that, and the equipments are not exactly cheap, as we already spent around 10,000 this semester. It'll be in the yearly budget this year. You see it over there. But I would like to ask, right? What are your strategies on resolving internal conflicts arising from disagreements? And also, like, let's say if your subcoms break an equipment, or even like won't want to bring back the equipment or lost it, what would you do to resolve this kind of issues ethically?
Okay, this kind of stuff. Okay, so like if you want to rent an equipment, so by standard procedures, you should like who's renting it, when did you rent it, you would have to register first. Then you can take the equipment, and of course then when you return it, you have to put in your name, when you return it and everything. And then of course if we find something lost or it's not returned or there's any damage to it, then we will hold the previous person who had accountable for this. Of course, every time when they return it, you would have to thoroughly check it. Why? Because maybe this person returned it and it's damaged, but you don't see it cosmetically, maybe internally. So the best way is to give it a check, so we make sure we don't hold someone like not responsible for it responsible for it. And most of the time, equipment rental side, it's a first come first serve basis. So if you're late for it or something, we cannot really do anything about it. But because we have a limited amount of equipment, but then the best way to do it is through standard procedures. Your name, your ID, and then we'll hold the previous person using it, if there's any damage to it, accountable for it.
I would like to add on to that, right? As a subcommittee of 2019 and 2018, right, we have tried that procedure of like registering people borrowing equipment. It doesn't turn out well, as people just take equipment and then go and then shoot, and sometimes might even bring back the equipment.
Okay, I can add on
it-
to that. I can add on to that. So what happened is, so there's this particular subcommittee who took the graphic card. If I'm not mistaken, it's a graphic card or a camera. They wrote it down. They wrote an ID.
SD card.
So what happened is, hello, sorry, can you hear me? Just
Yeah, yeah,
confirm. Okay, so what happens is, they took it, they did not return it, they blocked my number, they blocked my email. No matter how I tried to get them, they gave me the excuse that they went back to the to their home country. And I never got back the memory card or camera. I think camera we did, but the memory card no. So I feel like you have to consider how you're going to contact people like that. Like, how do you ensure like it's 100% safe? I think we need improvement in that. I mean, I myself, I did not think properly on how to improve that. I feel like we can think of it lah, in that sense.
Okay.
Yeah, because we tried that like since 2018 actually. Yeah, 2018. But yeah, do you guys have anything to add from your side, or maybe Ivan, Wei Xiang, Jiayin?
Not from our side.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I can start first, right? Alright, let me just go. Okay. First off, okay. I'm impressed with your policies. To be honest, but I still think like it's still a bit vague because some of it was very similar to 2019's policies. Yeah. So I'd like to know more about campus tour videos. Okay, wait, just give me a second. Yeah. Okay, campus tour videos. What are campus tour videos? Because if I'm not mistaken, if everything transitions back to physical, I mean like physical campus and whatnot, there's always, during orientation week, there's always a group of people who will bring their students for campus tours. That is called the buddy buddy program. It's different from activities buddy buddy. So, but it's also understandable because most of you have not been to campus, right? If I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure, but yeah. So just to clarify that on another level. So another one is back to school. The school started. Sorry, Jared, could you clarify the back to school video thing? Because I kind of not missed out because you all were quite fast. I'm trying to catch up. Yeah. The back to school video, is it the back to school video? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because if I'm not mistaken, the publicity officer wants to do something like that. So have you all thought of collaborating with other departments as well for orientation or like any events?
Yes. For the back to school is actually for the physical classes I expect, we thought to make like a checklist. So back to school will be a starter pack, like a checklist on Instagram for them to tick off. And then for the buddy program thing, if I'm not mistaken, I remember you saying something like that. We're actually planning to do something more on top 10 places to chill in Monash. And also we can also make like for new students the food review, for cafeteria food review. So something more based on like the fun, as more of the recreational aspect in Monash. Yeah.
I see. That's a good idea. That's a very good idea. Do you mean by checklist is template, like Instagram template? Right, that's a good idea.
It's like a reminder to, like, it's like a small gesture that you do to keep students more into this thing. And then as you mentioned, like the buddy thing, okay, they also do campus tours, but this is more on the technical side. It's like, oh, okay, like you guys follow me. Okay, so this is the library, and then you can come to this counter, you can do this, you can do that. So it's more on the technical side, where us as Monga, we want to do it more on the creative
I
side.
see, I see.
That's more entertaining. Yes.
Okay, that's nice. That's nice. That's a good idea. Okay, now I'd like to highlight the part where you mentioned, I don't know who mentioned gaming content, because that is,
Oh, I did.
who did? Sorry? Oh, okay, gaming content. Okay, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of gaming content would you like to include? Is it Dota, Valorant, or like CSGO? That sort of gaming, or like,
Yeah, I mean, so for what I have in mind is just the popular games. Although I'm not that familiar with gaming, but I can maybe like, if we were to initiate this, we would ask around our peers and friends about what games they play. So we will make sure that it's the popular games among the student community. So this will cater student preferences and maximize it.
okay, I think this idea is very, very brave because it requires quite a lot of manpower to. Okay, you're talking about streaming or like clips, like mainly just clips to record and whatnot.
Yeah, it's record. It's basically like, okay, so like let's take a game for like CS:GO for instance. Okay, like people like there's a community that plays it, but it's not as big. But like if you remember like previously PUBG like stuff, like a lot of people like was into it in a certain time period. Okay, so what we plan on doing is like titles such as somebody plays this, plays that, and like over their gameplay we put like funny commentaries or maybe with friends and something like that. It's just like a short entertainment video for people.
Okay,
Can I add on? Sorry.
sure. Okay.
From your point of view, how does this align with the aim of manga, creating gaming content and all this?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, I'm not ready.
Sorry?
From your point of view, how does this align with the aim of manga, creating gaming content?
Okay, I personally feel, okay, this is what I personally feel. Okay, I feel like if there is, that is my next question. Okay. Gaming is a very niche, it's a very niche, it's a very niche thing. Okay, for me, it's like there's only one group of people who likes. And I noticed after the pandemic, during the pandemic and MCO and whatnot, a lot of people started gaming. So I think it's also fair to test out the waters. So I think it's fine, like to test out and see how it is. Because honestly, I'm not sure, but personally, what I see is most of my friends started gaming, but that's also a very biased, point of view. But I think you have to take into consideration the part where when it comes to recording or streaming, because if your FPS is too low, your graphics will be low, the quality you produce later, it can be a problem. So I hope you all can look into that. I hope you all can look into the feasibility of doing it because it requires a lot of manpower, it requires very good equipment. I have to be honest with that. And I think it is a good idea for an offline initiative instead of like an online thing lah. Because I don't know how it's going to be like when everything goes back physical. Yeah. So that is also, I mean, that is a very brave idea. I'll put it that way. So you can test the grounds first and see how it goes. I have to be honest with that. That is my personal opinion. I don't know about what Ivan thinks or Jiaying, but that's my personal opinion. Yeah.
Sorry, but they haven't really answered my question. My question was, how do you think this aligns with the aim of manga? These gaming.
So,
Okay.
as I mentioned in the speech, so on the basis of manga having audiences who's interested in creativity, so photography, photo shoots, poem, articles, journalism, so they're already our audience base. So to ensure our distribution and maybe expand it, we want to expand our audience base to those who haven't been more engaged with us due to a lack of interest in those things. So from what we're thinking now, gaming can be an option to expand the audience base, and also it can be also stirring up discussions and also interactivity with students like gamers in the student community.
Alright,
Do we still have time? No, right?
Yeah, so I'm really sorry to cut in, but we don't have time for this right now. However, if you guys want to ask questions, like if there are any questions coming in from our YouTube chat, by all means, you guys can go and continue. But for now, I'll just segue into the open Q&A session. So yeah, so to any of our viewers watching, if you have any questions regarding the policies of the editor candidates, feel free to drop them below. In the meantime, while we wait for that, I'm just going to go through the schedule left for today. So after this, around 4:30, we'll be having the treasurer's debate, followed by the GenSec debate, the vice president's debate, and finally, the biggest position, the president debate. So we'll be going all the way until about 8:15 tonight. That's when we start our final debate. So stay tuned. Yeah. So okay, it doesn't seem like. Oh, there we go. We have a long question from Xiaoshuan. I actually have a question for Christy. During the nomination period, you mentioned to me that you dropped out from running as welfare officer as you weren't able to cope with the workload of being a welfare officer alongside with your other NGO commitments. Now that you're running as an editor, can you explain what your reasoning is behind this?
Yes, sure. Actually, I was already in manga before this. So, and being a writer and producing content is something that I have passion in. And to me, my own like a motto is that if I enjoy something, I won't have to feel like it's kind of like work. So to me, manga is something that is very important to me. And even if I have other commitments, I was already planning to be a subcommittee for manga again next year if I wasn't the editor. So right now I'm stepping up as editor because I thought, you know what, manga is something that I want to care for, and I have passion in this, and this is what I want to do, and I have really, really want to be a part of this, and I want to make content. I want to just make more things with my friends, for my friends, and all that. So to me, being in manga is something that I enjoy. So I don't feel like it will be that much of a difference. That is
Okay.
the reason because I enjoy manga more. Yeah.
Can I add on to that?
Sure.
Okay, I personally I was a subcom for welfare, and then I'm also for manga. And honestly, the workload is crazy hell. So by saying that you enjoy something and it doesn't feel like work, I thought the same as well when I ran for elections. But when I was in it, right, honestly, how many times I break down also there's more than my toes, honestly. So I hope you have. I mean, like, I hope you've really actually reconsider everything, lah. Okay.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah. So because based on how like it's put, it's like manga has lesser work as compared to welfare. But honestly, it's as crazy. I mean, it's as crazy. I'll put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, it's also fair. All right. Okay. Anyone else you would like to add? Ivan, Kiran, Yayin, or Weisha?
Yeah. I mean, for the media side, definitely we had to really push hard during this situation, and try to brainstorm new ideas and stuff during this COVID period. But workload wise, if I remember correctly, when I was a subcon in 2019 and 2018, it's quite a heavy workload, especially when some of the subcoms are not doing much. I'm speaking from experience here because like Celine was you can call her my boss for 2019, and all the amount of work that we had to do just because of some subcoms inconsistency, we had to like take over and all that. So the workload is quite massive. Yeah, that's why I like to say it's like the workload is huge, and I hope that you take the commitment into consideration.
Yes, I understand. Actually, because and also I'm more familiarized in manga as well. So yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to add on a bit that the writers' workload for this year is not really indicative of what it was in the previous years. So maybe don't go in with that expectation that the workload will be the same as this year.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. Sorry, Raif, can I still ask some more questions? Because I have a few in mind. Because I'm waiting for the.
Well, let's just go through a very quick YouTube comment check to see if there's
Okay.
anything. No one seems to be asking anything, so I guess I'll just hand the baton over to you guys. Go ahead, guys.
Okay. All right. I may have missed out a few things, but based on what like your policies are, it's mostly videos, right? By content you mean videos, right? Just for confirmation. Is it? Like just to clarify.
Oh no, we do have like writing content as well, but we emphasize more on that right now because it's more like something that didn't really happen this year. So next year we'll put it in, but we will have also writing content, photography, all that. No worries.
Okay. I feel because I also want to know more touch wood, hopefully there's wood here, but touch wood, hopefully things doesn't go online next year. But I want to know more about how you're going to deal with manga if everything goes offline as well. Do you have like a backup plan for that?
Offline or sorry, I couldn't hear properly.
In case anything happens, touch wood, things go offline. Do you have a backup plan for that?
As in no videos, right?
I mean,
Sorry, what do you mean
like,
by it goes offline?
Yeah.
Sorry, offline. Oh my god. I mean, like if things have to go online. Oh my god, Jesus. All right, yeah. If everything has to go online, like off campus. Yes, okay, yeah. If there's no campus, I mean, there's no physical activities. There's nothing. Like literally, it's another lockdown. Okay. Is there a backup plan for that?
Yeah, actually, we kind of like touched on it a little bit back then in our speech that if it's like taste test, we can actually just film ourselves or ask people to film themselves in the houses doing things. And also, we have this thing planned out. It's not really super planned, but we can have this thing on Instagram called Instagram decides what we do for a day in lockdown, something like that. And not only that, we also mentioned e-manga or news. Checklist. Yeah. And also there'll be more like article sections, but I was thinking for the articles we make it a little bit more relatable. Something like maybe my Asian mom said this or like my dad said this. So it's more something more localized based, I feel like. Besides the cook-off thing, which I really enjoyed, we can have something more accessible, easier for people who don't really cook, I feel like. Yeah.
I do have a question regarding this video idea sort of thing. Speaking from experience, right, in 2019, both in 2019 and 2020, there's not many people who will really volunteer to become videographers slash doing video editing. How would you what would happen if there is like only one or two videographer subcoms? Like would there be any idea change, etc., etc.?
In terms of idea change, I don't think it will matter that much, but I think we'll have to distribute workload among ourselves. So if there really is no sufficient amount of sitcoms where we can distribute the workload to, we can maybe take it ourselves so we can do the jobs too.
Which leads to my next question. Would you guys be willing to learn if, let's say, there's no videographer at all?
Yeah, definitely for sure.
All right, thanks.
Can I butt in for a while? So you mentioned that you want to make content more relatable and more localized. How would you balance that relatability with while ensuring that those articles are helpful and beneficial to our student community? Because relatable content will draw in audience, but how is that going to help a student?
I think relatable content can also be tied with a lot of social issues, such as, for example, we can touch on social awareness, and for example, like Asian family, the topic of sexuality doesn't really come up. So maybe we can touch on this and still be relatable as we have students from their own family, and they can talk about their experiences. So I think in terms of social awareness or like social issue, we can still touch on, so it can still be beneficial and helpful, and we can spread the words. And then it can also be really relatable because it's in the scope of Malaysia. It's really localized.
I have one more question. Are there any more questions from the audience? Please just confirm. Tristan?
Nope, nothing right now. So we have about 8 minutes left here, so take it away, guys.
Okay. I think Jared, if I'm not mistaken, you've mentioned. Sorry, Christy or Jared? Okay, you all mentioned that you want to make things more accessible. How are you going to do that? Like, I understand that clicking into the bio, like the link in the bio, could be a hassle. How are you going to make it accessible? Like, are there other ways to go around it?
I feel like I feel like we can just, if it's photography, we can post it on Instagram itself, as well as artwork. We can post it on Instagram itself. As for articles, I know that there is kind of like no way around it, but because we have to post something long on Instagram, the caption will be really, really long. But we can always summarize it into one Instagram post, as in several slides, to some, if for the people who too long didn't read, that sort of thing, that will be in the Instagram slides, and maybe the article can be the caption. That's just a suggestion. We're still working on it, actually. Yeah.
That's a good idea. So it's like a sneak peek like that, is it? And then people will have to go to the link again?
Yeah.
Okay,
If they're
that's
interested in the short one, then they can go click on the bio, read it. Yeah.
yeah, that's a similar idea back in 2019 also. I think that's good if you want to put it that way. And okay, my last question is, okay, this one is if it happens, okay, because you'll be liaising a lot with student life. So what if one day student life comes to you and asks, if we were to give you voting rights in the constitution, sorry, how will you react to it? Would you accept it?
I think in terms of this, first of all, we'll definitely discuss with our team and also with other members. But however, I think MUSA as a department need to maintain neutrality. And in terms of journalism and reporting events and stories that happen, whether it's in MUSA or like just the student community or Monash University in general. So I think in terms of voting rights, although it has to be discussed first, but I think for us right now, the top priority would be on neutrality in terms of journalism.
I see. So it's a yes or no, right? Or
No.
yes. No. Okay.
No.
Okay. Ivan, any more questions? Jai?
Sorry to cut in over here, but we got one question from the audience, and following this, we'll just have a closing statement. So really sorry to go and cut you guys short.
Okay.
So we got a question from Mona. How can you increase engagement as editors?
So for social media, I think our main focus would be on Instagram, as I think most people will be on Instagram and will be pretty active. So I think our main focus would maybe on stories. So maybe we can do recommendations and ask them to maybe give out suggestions, and also to encourage them to engage with us and to submit any suggestions. I think when people are filling in a questionnaire, it's hard for people to give out an answer where no options are given. So because options are not being simulated with like cues, and also there are just too many options. So I think we'll first come up with some suggestions within ourselves, and then we'll ask our peers or friends to have opinions or to see whether they have any suggestions to be added on. And then at last we'll give out this kind of maybe like a multiple choice questions for them to choose on IG story. I think it's more convenient, and I think it will minimize the effort for them to give out any suggestions and engage with us.
All right. Any of the other editors want to add on anything?
Okay, just one last question. What is the aim of MUSA?
I know, guys. I'm really sorry to go and cut in here. I meant the editor candidates who wanted to add in
Sorry.
to what. No. I'm sorry. I should have clarified that. I'm really sorry, but we're sort of running short on time here. We need to get to the other sessions as well.
Okay.
Sorry, dude. So yeah. So can you guys just make your closing statement now? It's going to be about 5 minutes for you guys.
All right, our closing statement. So we aim to provide the revival of to promote the revival of campus life, empower student talents, ensure unbiased content while reinforcing our party's mission and vision. Inclusivity by diversity in participants, interactivity by online engagement, student discussion, and lastly, equality by ensuring non-hierarchical communication between us, the student body and the subcommittees. We, as the editor candidates, will strive to commit to these. So this will be the end of our debate. We hope everyone will give us a chance to showcase our ideas. Thank you everyone for your time and for your questions.
Okay, so on that note, I think we've just about wrapped everything up. So thank you to all of the previous office bearers, and of course, thank you to the candidates for coming along. I guess we'll just end the live stream here. Tune in to the next debate that will start at 4:30, if I'm not mistaken. So I'll see you guys then. Peace out, guys.